Hey there, data rock stars. Welcome back. We are going to do another fun video today on one of my absolute favorite digital data tools for social media called RivalIQ. So RivalIQ, as it's named, and you can sort of pick up on, the idea is to compare yourself across your competitors and benchmarks for that industry for engagement and likes and whatever else it is, so that you can see how you're doing or what they might be doing that's interesting, the things that are changing on their profiles and breakout posts and things like that. So we're gonna create an account there. They do an awesome service for all of us to be able to do a 2 week trial. And that is really generous of them because a lot of tools, you have to talk to a salesperson, you have to pay $60,000 for a month, maybe to log into some that have been trying to get me to sign up for them. But RivalIQ is super generous in that they let us try it out like a lot of SaaS products. And so when you do have the ability to use this for a campaign in your job as like a marketing manager or whatever that is, make sure you support them and sign up and get the paid account because it's really cool that they're able to do that for us. And they even have some free tools where you can compare two different profiles on like Twitter or Facebook of you and a competitor, and it'll give you some cool visualizations on that as well. But we're going to dive right in, sign up for an account, and get you going so we can export things to Tableau or Excel if you're doing that and create your own calculations and work with the data there, as well as see their great little dashboards and PowerPoints and everything like that. So without any further delay, let's get started and pop over to their site and we'll sign up for an account and get going. All right, so hop on over to the RivalIQ website, link in the description below, and sign up for a new account with that 14-day trial button right there. You'll fill out your name, email address, your role in the company you are at, as well as whether you are a brand or an agency. So, an agency, obviously, probably working with multiple brands, or if you're a brand, you are that company looking at the view compared to either competitors that are peers or innovators or leaders or something like that, or you're comparing to your other brands maybe globally or within that portfolio of companies if it's kind of like a conglomerate type of brand. So we're going to focus on the company or team sort of view right now, but hop on in and do that. Then you'll get an activate link in your email and activate it. You'll go right back to the RivalIQ page to something that looks like this. So they have you go right into the flow of choosing a landscape. I'll also post a help link in the description below on how to set up a landscape. We're going to walk through it right here. Super easy. You're going to start with the company URL. You might have something here already if it tried to guess by the domain name that you are signing up for an account with, but you can click edit and type it here. And what's cool with RivalIQ is that they've done this for so many other people and companies before that they have the social profiles and the websites of a lot of these companies already linked together. You can edit it later, or if you're a smaller brand that hasn't been done before and that linking hasn't happened yet, you can set that up. But it's really important to have this, overall view of a set of profiles and website of a company because your competitors may be more active on Instagram than TikTok, and they may be not at all on Snapchat. And then another one is great on Snapchat, but not as much on the others. And we want to figure out, what's the reach, what's the engagement overall. And even if it's not a perfect comparison without the same exact platforms, it never really will be that exact perfect comparison. And we want to be able to see that overarching view. So let's see what else we can track. Of course, this weekend, the Buffalo Bills are playing the Kansas City Chiefs, an incredible game last year, one of the best games ever, actually. We'll see what happens this weekend. It's still a regular season, so pressure not fully on. I guess we'll have to choose the Cincinnati Bengals, I guess, to put on here for our fans in class. And I don't know who else we want to put up here. Maybe Philadelphia uh, as well. And see if we can. Oh, the Eagles are there. Let's do the Eagles. Why not? And let's continue. All right, so we created the landscape. Looks like these have all been linked already before. I trust that those are look pretty accurate. My mouse is going a little bit crazy. So your account is ready to go. And let's get started. So now we're in the RivalIQ interface. You can see on the left all sorts of things we can look at individually, the platforms. Right now it's putting this dashboard on the screen. So you've got the Chiefs at a glance since I put them as my own company. So that's the focus that we're looking at. And we've got some interesting metrics already. Our total audience of 8.78 million and it's slightly up right now at a glance, and some engagement total. So engagement and posts are both up right now. So we're eventually just going to export data here so we can work on it on our own because I want to create my own metrics for how I view things, which may be different than the industry standard. So a lot of times when you're using the tools within Facebook or within Instagram, you might not necessarily like the way they set up the calculations. You might think certain engagements are more valuable than others, whether a like is important to you at all or a comment is more important to you, or maybe the reverse. And there are certain things that are more high value to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish with your channels and posts and everything like that. And maybe you value certain platforms over the others. So you could still count Facebook for maybe some points, but you want to really weight TikTok more if you were like trying to focus on, the 18 to 30 demographic, which I probably would. And I think that's where we're going to be headed with this. So just kind of perusing around here just a little bit, just to get a feel for what is already there and what are some of the terminology pieces and what's happening, because then we are more inspired to create the graphs that we want to create later, and you can kind of get a feel for what is in each platform available that they bring in through their connections. All right, so just checking out a few of those things, go ahead and do the same stuff. You can also, when you are working at one of these organizations later on, you can connect to your own profile account. So there's this public data that everyone gets, that's, the likes and the views and impressions, all those things. There's also your individual ad campaigns and insights and all those other things that you can get deeper and more granular in when you actually own that account and link it. So that's one thing to think about there. We can go across these tabs at the top as well. Here's the leaderboard. So that's kind of fun. You can see who's winning on certain things or whatever. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a competition mode, so it's kind of neat to see what's happening there. And you can see the number of posts per day. So this is a very active industry. Sports has always been pretty strong in how that happens because it's event based and it's fan based. There's a lot of interactivity. So we can see that especially happening here. You can see the leaderboard. So looks like a lot of interesting stuff happening. Last year, this time, maybe the Bengals were up there, and this year, maybe a little bit less right now. Although you never know what might happen over the next few games in the season. But a lot of stuff was happening in these three, maybe the rise of Philadelphia in the last few weeks, and then obviously the game with the Buffalo Bills and the Chiefs and the two quarterbacks, which is very much a must see TV sort of thing. So now you can start to tie the data story of these things and understand the context behind why these things are happening and where we might go from that to analyze everything. So just kind of looking at a couple more things before we export the data. Here's the post level interesting dashboard, and you can see some of the top posts there. So these are what is most on the minds of our landscape set. A motorcycle likes to drive by while I'm recording. So there you go. Hopefully that's not too loud on the recording, but I am not going to redo this. All right. So here's some of the top hashtags. That's something we can look at later as well. Popular topics. And here's the mix of different posts. So a lot of these things we can recreate in our own way later and go from there. So what I want to do is go to the reports section, and they have a couple interesting things. They have PowerPoint and CSV. So CSV is that comma separated file, like an less formatted Excel type file, which you can use in Excel or Tableau, and then PowerPoint as well. So you can actually download kind of like what we were just looking at on the web page as like a PowerPoint that you could export to PDF to or whatever. And that's kind of fun as well. You can do that cross-channel summary across all of them or individually for those platforms. And you could use those in your own presentation decks to clients and everything. You can take out the graphs and everything that are useful to you. And then there is this set of data. So for that public data, there is the summary data, which is the totals and everything like that, or there is daily values. So I want you to use the daily values because we can always adjust the calculations to look across different months or weeks or whatever like that. But we want that granular data by the day, and then we can go from there. So we're going to go to competitive metrics daily values and export and click download. And when you're doing this for real later on, you can set up a like weekly export or daily export, and they have all of those scheduled reports, which is an awesome feature. But we just want this one-time snapshot today. I'm going to click download, and it'll create the report. Actually, while we're here already, let's download one more file. So on that social post tab of the cross-channel data up here, go ahead and find that export button as well and download this second CSV file and go from there. And you only have a few files on your free trial, so make sure you're using those judiciously. And now let's hop into Tableau and bring those files in. All right, it's time to create our own calculations. So we've got all this data in here, but we were looking at the dashboard on RivalIQ, which is an excellent tool, or you might be looking at an individual social platforms, amazing information like Facebook or Instagram insights and all that stuff. But we want to make sure the calculations are our own. They're focused on what matters to us and that they are calculating them correctly. We can even combine across platform here, which is pretty cool, that maybe we just don't care about a certain platform that might start with an F, and we want to look at TikTok and YouTube and maybe Instagram, and maybe that's all we care about. So we can make our own calculation. So let's just show you what TikTok posts would look like on their own. We've got our company name, our sports team name there. It's kind of small. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Drag that down there. Can make that huge. So what we want to do with that is take posts, right click, create on the menu, and calculated field like you would. You get that a number of different places. If you do it from an individual variable, it just pops it in there. It saves you like half a second, but we're going to create TikTok. Wow, there's caps there. TikTok engagement, typing problems today. Engagement rate. So what we want to do is, let's do enter on that in the next line. We're going to do sum before each of these items, so that way it's adding them up in the correct way and aggregating them. So we're going to do the elements of engagement. So whichever ones matter to you. If they don't matter to you, don't include them. So I'm going to bring in comments. Maybe you think comments aren't important to your audience on TikTok. Maybe they're just all bot-filled spam. That's fine. Then don't include it. And then bring likes. And remember, you got to do sum for each of these as well. Put a plus there. And shares. I think shares are super important, but to each their own. And cool. So if anyone remembers algebra, maybe you don't, you got to put parentheses around the different sections before you divide them for order of operation stuff. That's about all I remember from algebra. So make sure you do that, or you'll get that this calculation contains errors there. Make sure you got enough of those wrapped around your sections, and then click OK. So that popped it right into there. You can double check that's the one if you right click and edit. There it is. And now you've got the TikTok engagement rate there, or the number of engagements per post. And yeah, what's fun here? So now we can take company name, click control, drop it on color, and go back up to our dimensions, bring in date. That's for the year, so not much of a comparison. We're going to go exact date. And now you've got a little bit more of a data story. I'm going to hide company name. I know what these things are. We don't need that. And you can even hide this header. So if you don't need the axes, you don't have to have them, especially if they're labeled already. You definitely don't need it. But it depends on the scenario and what you're doing. Maybe the labels are too much. Maybe you just want the min and the max. Maybe you just want the max there. So I'm just going to leave it like that, except for the label is the number of posts. I actually want that to be the engagement. Actually, I don't know. Maybe we do number of posts there and then drop the engagement rate as the color. Except for I like the color by the teams. So I don't know. Make up your mind of whatever you would like to do on display. Totally your call. I'm going to call this TikTok engagement rate. Play around with how best to display that. You can flip it that way. Mostly you're going to look for left-right dates there. You can double-click that axis and remove that title. I know what September is. I don't need anyone to tell me that's a date, of course. And you could also change the mark type. You could do circles, could do different shapes, whatever works for you. I don't see a football there, but you can do more shapes and bring in different ones as well. There's weather, but I think they need some sports ones. Maybe someone can figure out that that's a designer below. So great, we have TikTok engagement rate. That's good to go. course, you can do some formatting and change things around, change backgrounds. Maybe you want to do some branding colors to match the football team that you want to play. Make some bright yellow Chiefs. It's kind of a different yellow, but let's go with that. A little harsh, but all right, cool. So another thing we could do is combine things across these platforms. It's all here in the same data. That's awesome. What I was thinking of is doing I just picked a random one. I'm not going to use Facebook, but calculated field. So what could we do on this? I'm thinking TikTok and YouTube are kind of interesting to me. I want to use TikTok views. Get rid of that Facebook junk there. And then go to YouTube and post views. So I'm just going to call this best video views. Don't call it that. Call it something better. So anything you watch on me, this is like an inspiration, and there are certain things that are like absolutely perfect, do that, but this isn't mimicry. Like if it makes better sense to, come up with a name that fits what you think, this is a good example. Don't use this title. TikTok views plus YouTube post views. I don't know. Maybe let's call it leading platform views. Something like that. And we're going to do some again. Well, I'm not sure if we need it here, but just to be safe, I know it'll work if we do. And let's click OK. So leading platform views can drop in there. And I'm going to just start typing company names since there are too many and drop that above here. You can flip it if you want. Of course, control, drop, and you got color. So that's the view. So that's one way we could do it. We could say leading platform video views. And I'm going to duplicate that, bring off company name, and dates is what I want to bring back up here. And let's do exact date, flip back. And let's see, we've got the Eagles are kind of blowing up there. That's kind of interesting. The rest are kind of all the same. So I'm actually going to take the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Bengals, and I'm going to group those together into one. So again, you can do Control or Shift and click those three, group, and now you have them here smooshed together. You can right click, click edit alias, and say something like all three other teams. Okay, perfect data story there. So now you've got those other teams combined. They're doing better that last week of September, but wow, the Philadelphia Eagles on that weekend have an absolute ton of those views across those two platforms, which you would want to describe here too. We have leading platform views. This would be like, this is mid-September to mid-October, but just bear with me. We can do that there, and then you could put what we made that calculation up of for TikTok plus YouTube and that sort of thing. So I want to make sure we're conveying in that title what the caption of this is so we know what we're looking at. This is also redundant, so you could just eliminate that from the axes and you're good to go. Same with date, because we know those are dates. Knock that out of there by double clicking the axes and editing that. And that's cool. You could also do different sorts of line types. That's a little bit easier to see. You could also do that line type but increase the thickness of the line, or you could change the path to be one of these. Those are kind of weird, but they do actually work for some sorts of graphs where you want to see the tops of things. But there you go on leading platform views. So I think that looks pretty good. Tells a bit of a data story. Create a new tab and definitely check the rest of these out. All sorts of fun stuff there. So you can look at followers, but like I always say, the ratios of things help you determine the efficiency of things. So those are super powerful. But also like your total audience is, also important. So not just like followers, but all of those views of something is your reach. So that is also fun to look at. So definitely try it out with these Facebook angry reactions, TikTok engagement rate, and the leading platform views. If you want to make some modifications to those different calculations, by all means. And this is just a starting point. There's a lot of rich data here. We're also going to do one more thing with the post data. So stay tuned right here and we will get. And there's one more thing, of course. So we want to look at some of that post data. So we looked at those metrics over the day, but what are the actual individual posts saying? What platform are they on? What type of posts are they? And that helps us figure out what was effective or not effective and what we might want to do going forward. So we exported that from RivalIQ already. Here's some inspiration. I'll post some description links below, and we can pop back to RivalIQ to that data source, pop back to Tableau with the RivalIQ data to that data source tab. Here's what we already have in here. And instead of doing data add new data source from one of the sheets, we're going to be here where we have our existing data because it's linked together. So it's joined together by a field, which we've covered in some other videos, but that joining of the company name, the sports team name, is what we will link it together with. So we have this connection here, and we're going to add a connection to a file, to more, and we're going to find that post data. So you might have downloaded the posts all from the Chiefs is what I had, or the top landscape posts. So either one. I think it might include a different subset of data, but pick one with the posts, and it brought it in. So we have that second one there. You need to choose the sheet on the left of the raw data that fits posts and drop it in, and it'll do the connection. And there is a warning. So the warning is now down below here. So it didn't figure it out automatically. So they didn't have the exact same name. So we want to see what we have. Normally in data, you're going to want to link with IDs. Like if you have student numbers, social security numbers, ID is just a little more crisp and reliable than names, which have funny characters like my last name or something like that, or spaces, or the middle initial, or the first letter of your last name is somehow messed up. But in this case, we don't have ID in both. We have company though. So what we can do is click company name, and then it has it there, but you can also start typing and see what you have. Company name and company matched. So it smooshes all that data together and creates this combined table of everything instead of having those two separate files. That's what this join does in here. You can double click that and see, and we are good to go. So it matched them. I don't know what I just did, but we should be good to go. Let's see if we have a new sheet with both of those pieces of data. All right, we do. And you have them in that separate section. So you have table 1, the competitive daily metrics, and table 2 of the posts. So they have the different data fields available. Like I said, we have the, handle, the image, if it has one, I guess it's a link to the image, the description, or description of the link, or the message. So message is what I was looking for. So what did they actually have in that text that made it effective or not effective? And what type of post is that? An image, a picture, a link, etc. And then what is the channel or platform that it was posted on? So there's a few different ideas that we can go through here. So we were looking earlier on the leading platform views, but this is with our new data. So we have applause in views. So the applause rate is a metric here. You might have seen in like Avinash Kaushik's metrics on his articles about that. So I wanted to really quickly look at the messages just in an overall dashboard. So I wouldn't present from this, but this is just kind of an overview. Since there's so much data, I just wanted to kind of peruse it and see what was going on and see by channel and post. Remember in Tableau, you can move these things around to see what order makes sense. So this is message first, but that's kind of unique. So the higher level is channel. So maybe I dropped that there and now it's a little bit more organized. So you've got all the TikTok ones first before the Twitter ones. So it depends on what you want to look at. Like if you want to look at all the posts like this and it doesn't matter as much to you what the channel is, you just want to see which had the most video views in this case, you could do that. And that was sorting by the Buffalo Bills one. So here's the Bills most, and it doesn't matter which platform it was on, you can see the top one. So it looks like Twitter has like this absolutely huge view, and TikTok next, and that sort of thing. So it depends on the question you're trying to answer, and this graph's purpose may be just for you to discover something like that And then when you're presenting later, maybe it's just that. Also, one of the things you can do is right click on TikTok, and maybe you only want to look at TikTok. So now you've just got TikTok for all of the different teams, and you can see at a glance who's active and getting a lot of views with these top posts. Now, the data file we downloaded was only for a certain period of time. It wasn't for years. It just last 30 days, and it was only those top posts in that landscape. So they filtered out things that had fewer ones. So it's not going to give you an exact number for overall what would be accurate, but it does give you an accurate per each of these. All right, so let's take a look at a few other things. So before, I'd actually filtered this out just on Instagram. So I dragged and dropped channel, the platform here, and you can choose whatever is there. You can unselect, you can do none, all, and then I'm going to click just Instagram and click OK. So this is the Instagram applause all mixed together. You can see all 4 teams. You could drop company in here and then it'll separate it out. So it depends on the view that you want. This is kind of nice and clean where you can see the difference versus if you don't have that there, they're all kind of mixed in there. Although that can be helpful if you want to just point out these outliers that are sticking up there and discover. So let's go ahead and do that. I actually want to click Control, keep that applause there, and also drop it on size so I can exaggerate the ones there. I can even click color, lower the opacity, maybe add a white border so you can see the little lines between them. And now we know who has the breakout posts. I'm going to clean up the axes a little bit, get rid of published at because I am good with my current audience on which date that is. So we have some breakouts. There's the Eagles with a big one. There's the Bengals with one. And there's the Chiefs with one. We have the colors mixed up again. What happened with that? The Chiefs should be red and the Bengals orange. I do not know how that happened. All right. What I want to do is tell a data story about this. So what we could do is right click and click annotate and mark and see what we have in the data. So we have the channel, the company, when it's published, and the applause. But if you look here, I actually want to know what the actual message was. So you can take the variable here, message. I'm going to drop that on details. So it's not actually in the label or anything, but it's available to us. And when I click label and click the 3 dots, actually the label could do that if we take the message and drop it on label. So that's not bad. I'm going to keep that as one option so you see them all. Maybe I show that at first in my presentation, but it's too much because I want them to focus in on one. So I'm going to bring that off the label, and instead of a label, I'm going to right click on that one and annotate and get a little comic book style mark here. And this is the super data way that it would be written. It's like channel, Instagram, little robotic. We can just say on, just like a human would write it, leave the data field there like on channel. Company is not how anyone would ever refer to a sports team unless you're like an investor maybe. I would call them the Bengals. And the message I would say posted, get rid of the colon there, publish that. You can just say at. You can even put these all in the same line. Obviously the message is going to be longer, and you can say and received that applause. So now we have it in like almost human writing. You can do all the formatting, whatever you want. You can change the color, maybe make the Bengals thing orange and black, maybe, I don't know, whatever. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so click OK. We've got this. We can also right click format, and now you have the annotation formatting. I can make that, it's not orange enough. Let's see if we can get some more orange there. That looks like a Bengals orange. It was close enough. Border, you can add a border, more rounded edges there. Even this line here, you could actually change. So I'm going to go back there, click line, make it thicker, and make it black. And then you can say line end. You can do an arrow. So look at that. On Instagram, the Cincinnati Bengals posted all white everything on September 27th, 2022. I don't know what that is. Maybe a all white uniform day, possibly. But at any rate, this has a data story. So you see the overwhelm of all these posts. You see that a few are a breakout, and they're like, what did the Bengals do? This is what they did. This is what we should do more of or less of, in maybe a negative case if it's much lower or something like that. But that's a lot of fun. Something else we could do, instead of Instagram, if you had Facebook on here, you could put what type of post type. I don't think they have the post types for Insta, like Reel versus the others. But for Facebook, obviously, you can see links, photos, and videos. Now, remember, these are the top posts. They're not every single one. And if you wanted to see how efficient you were at driving that applause, you would then look at the applause rate, so divided by the number of posts. So there's difference between like the efficiency of it and then just the number of applause in total that it's driving. So this can show you your like reach and your engagement, your total engagement, versus if you're trying to figure out how individual posts are doing with that rate. So this is the total. Looks like photos are driving most of the action and videos this much, but who knows how many videos they posted on Facebook. Maybe it was just a few, and these are the effective Buffalo Bills ones, essentially. Not too much from the others, mostly just the Bills. And everyone else is kind of mixed in on photos and just a couple links. Obviously, in the algorithm of the social media platforms, links are a little bit tricky because they don't like you to go off page. So the algorithm may be favoring people viewing the photos and liking them, or the links, you go to the link and then you don't come back to like it. So that's kind of a challenge of the platform as well. Other things you could show are applause by day. So I put day there, and then you can bring in the applause rates by platform. So this is one way to view it. So when you're in Tableau, one thing you can do, and so I can hide that header as well because that's not as helpful. I can maybe add a label, min-max there. So overall, you can see on Facebook how they're doing. Maybe that's how you want to see it, but maybe you actually want to put the company there. So you're just looking at one platform at a time, and you can see the sporadic nature of the Eagles on Facebook. You can see kind of a lower level of the Bengals mostly on Instagram until some peaks over here, and that kind of overall view. But remember, you can move things around. So you could swap out and put company first. So now you're just looking at the Buffalo Bills. Maybe you're in their office talking through their social media teams, challenges and everything, and you want to see where you're doing good or not doing as an organization. So flip things around and see what fits for you and the story you're trying to tell. So just pick one and go with that. And remember to, maybe not label every single one. It's a little bit overwhelming. Maybe do min-max. Maybe you don't care about the minimum, you just want the peak. So you can undo the minimum value there. And you can also click the font so you can match that mark color, maybe make it bold and easier to see. And now it's matching the teams. So it's a little easier for the user to see that. All right. Give that a go, make some awesome graphs, and start to understand the social media data behind the organizations you care about and want to help them understand what works.